Welcome to the live arrival show of Team AkzoNobel at the finish line in Itajai. Just a few moments ago, the Dutch boat crossed the finish line. Simeon Team Point now drawing to a close. Leg 7 and joining Team Brunel that won the leg yesterday along with Dongfeng Race Team taking second place. The podium is now full. And Conrad, just with all these teams, I mean, we're waiting to hear from the sailors, from the skipper as well, but a big moment for all the sailors. So much has happened in this leg. It's been such a journey for these teams. Getting to the shore, extra poignant.
Well, yes, very definitely. You know, this has been the toughest leg of the race, both on machines and certainly on the crews. That we've seen a lot of tired eyes, particularly on this boat. I think that Luke Malloy is in need of a makeover from the last videos that we've been seeing, and just really, this team has given it their absolute all. And it's so satisfying as well. You know, not only do they have Martine Grail on board, who's going to be treated like a little bit of Brazilian royalty once she steps foot on board. But remember, this is the team that has struggled early on and has now found their form. This is their third podium in a row. And so really, really impressive effort and a team that is just more and more telling the world that they're here and they're on form.
And they've had a difficult journey since the beginning, as you were saying, and they really have emerged in the last few legs, especially as, you know, as you say, a bit of a powerhouse to contend with here. I mean, it's been really interesting, leg 7. I mean, for so much of this leg, it hasn't been about the racing. It's been about the sailors and their journey and them being out there, going up against what an unbelievable test that the Southern Ocean could throw at them. But bringing it back to the racing for the moment, Team AkzoNobel have very much kind of established themselves and the scores are getting very tight. Would you feel confident at the moment calling the pecking order that we're going to see over the next few months, or do you think it's still very much in the air?
No, I think that it's really fantastic for the race, and particularly for this team, because we're going to end the race in just 3 months' time at The Hague. So they're going to be going into a Dutch finish, and looking at the way that Team Brunel is charging up the rankings, and this team is becoming more and more reliable in their positioning in their fleet. I can, really expect the Dutch fans to have something really exciting to sort of jump up and down about. And just to follow up on something that you said during the first comment there, that this leg was so much more about racing. It was just about surviving. It was about making it around the finish line with your mast track in place. This team has previously had difficulty with, and having no majors. You know, they have a small problem with a little bit of water coming in through their keel box, but frankly that's a non-issue. It happened at the end of the leg. Didn't really affect their boat speed. But really, this team has got a lot of maturity on board. You've got Simeon Team Point, who's here for his first role as skipper, but has done the race several times. We've got Chris Nicholson on board, who was the skipper last time. He was the skipper the time before that with Kemper in 2011, 2012. And so when you've got a watch captain like him, when you've got a navigator like Jules Salter, just got so much talent on board, in particular somebody like Justin Ferris, who's back for his third time around the world as well. And Nikolai, who was a real Nikolai Sedstedt, who was a real outstanding talent in Vestas Team Wins last time. Then this team, now that they've got their teething problems out of the way, is just proving to us that podium is where they need to be.
And I'm sure you'd also want to mention a sailor like Brad Ferrand. I mean, all the boat feed videos that come off, he seems to be the person with his elbow deep in the toolbox, fixing every problem that they encounter.
Well, yes, I'm sorry, I didn't want to be too partial to my Kiwi friends there, but yeah, absolutely. We've got the bowman, Brad Ferrand, who has been really, really strong and the sort of inshore circuits up until now, and this is his sort of big breakout moment. And the fact that he's been doing it, as you say, with the toolbox in hand and has really proven himself to be an instrumental part of this team is great for him and great for this team.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Martine Grail, obviously the gold medalist from the Rio Olympics, and that coming down right to the final 200 meters or something like that. I mean, it really was quite a moment. She's going to get a very warm reception, not just tonight, not just the next few days, but over this entire stopover. She's a huge name.
Well, yeah. Well, let's not forget the fact that she's going to get mobbed first off by her father, Torben, and that's really spectacular. You know, we've been digging through the archive footage here in the office, and it's been really touching to go back and look at all of the editions that he has participated in, and to see sort of Martine flashing in and out of the arrivals and departures, and sort of seeing her grow up through this race. And so it's a huge moment for her to be arriving in Brazil and to be obviously carrying that fantastic surname back into Brazil. And so to be able to share the Volvo Ocean Race again, not only through the family legacy, but also you know, going from generation to generation and bringing it back into the Brazilian public. You know, we don't often think about Brazil being an ocean racing country, but let's think about all of the French races that finish up there. You've got, you know, every 2 years the entire French offshore sailing world ends up in the ports of Brazil with the finish of the Transat Jacques Vabre. This is the third time that we've had a stopover here in Itajai, and apparently they're keen on going further. And they've obviously got an incredible relationship with the sea. And so it's really a natural fit, and I think that Martine is really, really well placed to carry that story. She's young and dynamic, and really going to be the future of this race, and also the future of Brazilian sailing, both through the Volvo Ocean Race and indeed through the 49er FX.
Well, we'll be waiting to hear from Martine Grail, a few words, I'm sure, in just a moment, or at least when they get on the dock. But while we're watching them drop in their main and getting themselves onto the dock and straight into the arms of friends and family after what has been such an emotional leg at sea, let's take a look at how the last few weeks have affected Team AkzoNobel and what the racing's been like.
After the race, okay, racing.
Pacing feet, screw my face to the beat. I am the dropout, the cop out. They scraped off the street. My people bringing it back to basics, kicking it back.
We're looking forward to potentially a few days on port tack, heading south to the Southern Ocean.
Told me what to do, man. I just done it. Now we're running, climbing up this mountain to the summit with the sun. That's written out in pure gold. Me, I am the source.
Fleet's pretty close together, within 8 or 9 miles of each other, 30, maybe 40 knots. And that's pretty much how it's going to be for the whole week after that. So pretty big stuff coming up.
With your pretty little sing songs.
It's getting colder and we're heading south.
MCs cannot attack me. MCs cannot attack me. I'm the big dog, blueprint, one that
Unfortunately, macros coming as well. So last night they were behind us, now they crossed us. Not the best morning.
MCs cannot attack me. I'm the big dog, blueprint, one they want to copy. I've never met a rapper who can stop me. It's way too easy.
30 to 40 knots in the Southern Ocean. It's just a massive effort.
I'm spinning around the room, my singing is out of tune. In my bed at 5 AM, I'm getting up out of noon. Scribble pages of flames down, there's no one with the same sound. Shake ground as my voice bellows and the bass pounds. Make crowds bow down in front of greatness. Chasing up the Vegas, making aces. For your playlist, I'm the A-list. One to watch, back to kick it up a notch. Killing up the competition, afterwards I sit and catch.
Feels good to head home now. Home is there.
I kick it old school, ancient like a trailer by Jurassic Ranger. Tame a T-Rex with that classic flavor. Call my name out on your chest when I slash my saber.
And that was the leg for Team AkzoNobel, now safely across the line. And in a few moments, we'll be hoping to hear from skipper Simeon Team Point and potentially the rest of the crew. We know that they have been through so much physically and emotionally. And Conrad, I mean, I'm thinking back to some of the images and some of the videos that we've been seeing for the last few days, certainly scars on the faces, not least from the skipper.
Well, yes, absolutely. We saw that Simeon Team Point, it seems to have had a bit of an altercation with the bulkhead, and so, you know, with these boats they're stopping and starting and accelerating and surfing and braking all the time. And I think that I did an interview with James Blake the other day, and he was saying that Simeon was going through the hatch and sort of caught his cheek as it went past. You know, he's a pretty chiseled gentleman, so, you know, he's got lots of protruding bones on his face. But then also we had Nikolai Sedhead, excuse me, who indeed broke his nose, and it was again the same thing, going through a hatch, and the boat slowed down dramatically, and he was next to the bulkhead and broke his nose. Which I think we've all seen the clip now that he reset it himself. It was apparently not the first time that he'd broken his nose, and just the fact that he sort of put it back into place. And it's going to be interesting to see in the true light of day what that actually looks like, or whether he's going to be popping off to see one of the Brazilian plastic surgeons on the way. But yeah, it's been an absolutely brutal leg, and I think that there's going to be a few signs of relief to sort of finally make it here, and we've talked about the fact that they have been on the podium the third time in a row now. This is fantastic, but they're going to be a little bit disappointed, I think, about the fact that they've arrived now to essentially 2 days behind the leaders. That they passed Cape Horn with only 4 hours and 21 minutes behind Team Brunel, behind their Dutch compatriots. And they were tucked in close. They were in fourth place, and so have gained a place with, sadly, Vestas Leventhour Racing dropping their rig. But it was really one call, and this, we've seen this before with navigators having so much pressure on their shoulders. In leg 2 we had Pascal Bidiguri, who flirted a little bit too closely with the center of a high pressure. Again, it was the same case here, that they took the inside line into a high pressure. Went further than Dongfeng Race Team and Team Brunel, maybe looking for an edge or a better angle on the way out, and they just got stuck a little bit. So not quite as badly as the other two boats that are still out racing, but they ended up bleeding a lot of miles.
Bleeding a lot of miles, but for all the teams, just finishing here in Itajai is a major accomplishment. This leg has been physically tolling, emotionally it's been absolutely devastating, of course. But now we are watching Simeon Team Point and the crew dropping the main after successfully completed over 7,600 miles of racing through some of the toughest conditions that I can certainly remember from the Volvo Ocean race. But dry land is always a little bit of a treat, and it will be no less welcome for all of these sailors when they get ashore. But the arduous task of putting an ocean racing boat to bed just before you can get over there is a little bit difficult. Now, Conrad, you're familiar with this kind of main, these kind of boats. If you're a weekend sailor, you might be thinking, well, just drop that main. But the batten configuration that we have at the top here makes this sort of moment here a little bit difficult for some of the sailors.
Well, yes. First off, the mainsail, 3DI product from North Sails, is incredibly stiff, and so it's hard to flake just the fabric. And then you've got the fully battened main, so you've got 7 hard, rigid carbon fiber battens, and one of which, and the one that actually causes the problem in this case, is the fact that there's that top batten, or the gaff batten, is at 45 degrees, and that's what holds that square head out. But it also stops you from dropping the main all the way down, because as soon as the inside edge of that gaff batten hits the bottom of the stack, well, it can't go down any further. And so what you need to do is you need to send somebody up in a climbing harness with a click wrench to sort of take out a couple of pins and drop the head of the mainsail off the headboard. And so, typically it takes 15 minutes just for that part. You can see now there's the sort of flailing with reflective elbow in there somewhere with the shots here from the aerial images, and that's going to take sort of 15 minutes just to do that part. And so it takes at least 45 minutes to put one of these boats to bed.
Basically safe to say that the main is designed to be up in the sky working, not really in this kind of halfway house that we're seeing now. All the sails here that the sailors have, they need to look after them. They get a few replacements available. Of course, if they damage something, there is the chance they can get it repaired. But ultimately, the equipment that they have on the start line, what they have at least in their container, in their inventory, they need to keep a very close eye on. They need to look after.
Absolutely. It's something that's incredibly tactical, because if you've been watching Formula One, that's the season that's just started up again. They talk endlessly about the rubber and the tires and the strategy and the setups and how you set the boat up for the car for qualifying, etc. Here you've got one setup, you've got one keel, you've got 2 dagger boards, you've got 2 rudders. And then really the only variable in terms of strategy and putting your resources into action are your crew and your sails. And so we've been seeing a lot of sailors sort of coming in and out, not just off this boat. You know, in the previous leg we had Cécile Leguet, for example, a very strong solo French sailor who had lots to contribute to this team. And so we've got sort of teams optimizing themselves for long legs or Southern Ocean legs. You've got a lot of experience from the Southern Ocean on board this boat, and we're going to be seeing a few crew swaps throughout the leg, because you've got a very different leg coming up, that one that's going to require a lot of concentration versus the sort of brute power and endurance of the Southern Ocean. So you've got that, and then you've also got the sails, which is what you were talking about. Now, you can't really muck up the way that you do that, because you've only got one change for your mainsail during this entire race around the world, and just because of the sheer logistics of the fact that you've got containers following the race around, and you can't from one day to the next say, oh well, this is where we're going to swap our sail. This is something that is thought out far in advance and put into place with a lot of weeks and months in terms of where the sails are going to come online and how they're going to get there, because this is a race that goes all the way around the world, and logistically it goes all the way around the world as well.
And we still have some boats still out in the water, still waiting to finish this leg, waiting to continue their journey around the world. Turn the Tide on Plastic and Mafre. They're going to be the next two boats to finish, but, well, don't hold your breath, because unfortunately it's going to take a little bit of a while. Fans of these two teams are going to have to wait until the weekend, realistically. Turn the Tide on Plastic should be due in on Saturday, Mafre on Sunday. And yesterday we were talking about the battle between these two. Overall race leaders, Mafre will be very desperate to try and overtake Di Cafari. But just looking at that screen there, Turn the Tide on Plastic, they're looking like they've got fourth place sewn up.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely in the bag on that one. Again, this was just a case of getting stuck in a high pressure zone. We talked about this more than a week ago, really, in terms of Mafre trying to get back into the game and this high pressure zone extending and blocking the path. And it was really critical for Di Cafari and her crew just to sort of squeak in. And the thing that I was just talking about how this team here, AkzoNobel, was just 4 hours behind at Cape Horn, is now sort of 2 days behind at the finish. That's one of the brutal realities of ocean racing, is that just a small difference at some point in the race, once you throw the weather into the mix, can sort of really balloon, and so one small difference can represent 1% at one point, and then can balloon and be 100 times worse at just 2 days later. So I think the one person who's going to be very, very happy about that is Charles Caudrelier, because it means that Di Cafari has done the job that he needed her to do and has broken away from Mafre. So I think we know now what the reality is going to be when it comes to the scoreboard.
On the scoreboard at the moment, at least for leg 7, Team Brunel winning the leg, and to quote Charles Caudrelier, skipper of Dongfeng Race Team, a well-deserved win as well. Then it was Dongfeng Race Team. Now Team AkzoNobel crossed the line and making their way in. Turn the Tide on Plastic will be in the next few days, along with Spanish boat Mafre, and we will then see a change on the overall scoreboards. Now we're going to take a little bit of a break here. Seaman, Team Point and crew are making their way into the dock, where hopefully we're going to get some reactions from the sailors and see the smiles and the relief as leg 7 comes to an end for Team AkzoNobel.
You can't fight it. It's thunder and lightning. You won't break me. You won't break me.
Welcome back to the finish line in Itajai, Brazil. Team AkzoNobel just a few moments ago crossed the line and took 3rd place in leg 7. And now Seaman, Team Point and crew, main and foresail safely down, are reversing their way into the dock, and we're going to get a chance to hear from the sailors themselves. And I mean, Conrad, there's no real surprise to know what's coming up here. It has been an unbelievable tough leg, obviously scarred by the loss of John Fisher, but also in terms of the accomplishment of the sailors going up against such unbelievable conditions as well. Every skipper here will be very rightly proud of their crew.
Incredibly proud. Incredibly proud, because as you say, they've been through a lot. But also, this team has grown up during the course of the race. The last time that they were down in the Southern Ocean, that they had real troubles. They mechanically looking after the boat. But also, that was really their first time in really tough conditions as a team. This was a team that was looking for speed by developing the boat and getting a new boat versus doing a lot of early season training. And so when they were down in the Indian Ocean in leg 3, that was really their first time being confronted by the realities of the Volvo Ocean race. And then now they've got tens of thousands of miles under their keel. They know each other better now than they know themselves. And this is a team that has arrived.
Now, we've got just a few moments before they hit the dock, and we're going to hear from the sailors. But I want to ask you a little bit about that, because the Team AkzoNobel did something a little bit different. They were the first team to officially enter the Volvo Ocean race, and they elected to build a brand new Volvo Ocean 65, whereas other boats that came later got on the water earlier, had more time sailing. Now it kind of feels like all the teams have worked out how to go fast and those little tweaks that the 65s demand. But did that work for Team AkzoNobel, that new boat mentality?
Well, I think that Simeon Tienpont, coming from his America's Cup background, may have felt that there was more speed to mechanically extract from this, and so I think it's more of a reflection of his background and his really high performance career to date. But I think that the Volvo 65s, in the conditions that we've seen in leg 3 and in leg 7, that these boats have been able to sail, essentially full speed through absolutely horrendous conditions, are just proof of the fact that these boats are absolutely trucks, and really proving the concept. And so I think that maybe who knows? We'll see at the end of the race. But anyway, this team is working out well now.
Martine Grail just getting a warm welcome coming ashore here. The jobs don't quite stop there. The lines are thrown over, the fenders are adjusted, and we're just waiting to hear in the next few moments some words from skipper Simeon Tienpont and maybe one or two of the crew as well, as Team AkzoNobel has taken the last of the podium positions. Third place for the Dutch boat. And they're looking quite fresh at the moment, I must say, crew-wise, but there, Martine Grail into the arms of Torben Grail, her father, on the dock. An emotional moment as families are reunited, especially after such an extraordinary leg. And Martine Grail, Olympic gold medalist for Brazil in the 49er FX in the Rio Olympics. And you can see by just the flash bulbs and everything going off around her, as she stands next to her proud father, what she's in for the next few weeks. She's not going to get any rest time from the media at all.
No, she's a noted surfer, and we'll certainly be looking forward to going home and soaking up the sights and the sounds of not only her home country but her hometown as well. And so. But as you say, it's going to be tough to escape from the media, and lots of well wishes, and it's going to be incredibly exciting for her because everybody's going to be looking for her and looking for a quote and to see what the future of Brazilian ocean racing is all about. But then there's sometimes this tension because internally, because she's going to have a lot of desire to share her story and to talk about her team and the adventures that she's had out at sea, but she also needs to preserve herself a little bit because there's more tough racing to come. And while it might feel like the restart on the 22nd of April is a lifetime away, it's going to come soon enough.
Simeon Tienpont just going out of shot on the right-hand side. Chris Nicholson walking along deck, and Emily Nagel just tending to the lines. She was injured on the last time through the Southern Ocean. worked pretty hard to get ourselves back on board, but now's the time. We can hear from Simeon Team Point, skipper of Team AkzoNobel, after they finished third in Itajai.
Podium finish for your team. How does that feel, and how is the mood on board?
No, we're very content with the result, of course, and the goal was to have a podium position and to have a safe journey and to keep the boat in one piece, and we did. So, yeah, we are very happy, and yeah, the mood is good. Even though it was a slow finish the last 48 hours, but I think we had a good race.
It's been an extremely difficult leg in the Southern Ocean. How did it compare to the last time you went down there 12 years ago?
I think, well, if I have to compare it, it's probably a lot easier because at least I knew what I was getting into. 12 years ago, it was a bit different. But I think we had a very good crossing, and I think we've been conservative. And we always, the plan was, and normally is that you can always, the last bit after the Horn to Brazil, there's plenty of opportunities. This time it was a little bit different. It was harder to catch up with the front. But yeah, the rich got a little bit richer, but it was the same for us, and we could secure a third place. So yeah, no, it's been a very good trip for the crew and the boat, and I think we came off very well and rested, and so no, been very good leg for us.
Good. You have been around Cape Horn before, but it was many of your crew's first time. Tell us how special it is and how was it to be a part of the journey?
It's fantastic, you know, especially maybe being Dutch as well, you know, it gives an extra emotion. It's the Cape Horn is named after the place Horn in Holland. So I told the guys as well, they're all getting a medal now out of the city of Horn that still does give medals out for the people that go around on a Dutch boat. So no, but it's also a good feeling after such a journey. You stretch such a big ocean, and you're so far away from land, and then it's good to see a new continent rising on the horizon, and even that it was even maybe the conditions were even tougher after the Horn than before. Going around the Falklands, yeah, at least you're closer to land, and that gives a good feeling.
Congratulations, welcome to Brazil.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here again.
And now we're going to hear Martini Grael. Agora vamos falar com Martini Grael. A big applause for AkzoNobel. Hey, Tini. You're sailing here in Brazil now, and what do you think about inspiring a whole new generation of Brazilian sailors to achieve such things as you did? How was it for you?
I mean, for me, to begin with, I didn't have female idols in Brazil, only abroad. I had very good idol at home, but it's good to be able to inspire new generations. And for me, it's been an amazing last years, and doing this race has been really cool, especially this last leg. It's been full of very good sailing and a very good experience.
Muito bem, e foi uma perna muito difícil. Ontem o Tim Brunel e o Dong Fang, né, eles contaram, a gente teve aí a perda, né, de um velejador, muito frio, muito vento, muita onda. É a primeira vez que você passa no Horn. O Simeon acabou de falar que você vai ganhar uma medalha da cidade de Horn, na Holanda. Como era a sua expectativa e como isso se realizou? Foi pior ou melhor do que você esperava?
Antes de fazer essa regata, é óbvio que eu tentei escutar o máximo de experiência possível antes de fazer. Então, eu sabia mais ou menos em que eu estava me metendo. Mas é claro que você não experiencia passar pelos Oceanos do Sul até você realmente fazer. E realmente as condições são muito duras, né? E infelizmente a gente perdeu um colega e foi um momento muito chato na regata. Grandes sentimentos por ele. E eu acho que nos mudou um pouco da forma que a gente estava velejando o barco também. Todo mundo prezando muito pela segurança, mas ao mesmo tempo foi uma velejada incrível. E acho que em poucos lugares do mundo você consegue ter uma velejada desse tipo. E passar pelo Cabo Horn, o mítico, foi para mim com certeza um marco na minha carreira. E eu Eu espero poder terminar essa regata com expectativa de pódio.
Muito bem. Now that you're back in Brazil, what that you missed most about Brazil? Of course, not your family.
Feijão com arroz.
Rice and beans. Thank you, Martini. A big applause for Martini Graião. Grande aplauso aí para Martini Graião. Now we'll leave some time for
Martin Grail from Team AkzoNobel just talking to the press assembled on the dockside. They have finished this leg taking third place. And let's take a look at the scores at the moment. This is obviously provisional. We've only had 3 boats finishing here. The rest are still to go. But if everybody finishes in the positions that they are at the moment, we get some interesting movement going on. Dongfeng Race Team right now is up to 46 points. Mafre still have their points to add to the board. But we know, Conrad, that ultimately we are going to see that change at the top.
Well, that's right. With Turn the Tide on Plastic staying in front of Mafre, we're definitely going to see that the changes, that the Mafre will drop from first to second, and Dongfeng will definitely take their place. And so, we're going to check their points, but whichever way they shake out there, the critical thing to take away from this leg is the fact that it was a race of absolute endurance, of brutal intensity from start to finish. And this was the moment that the Dongfeng Race Team sort of dethroned the early king, Mafre, and really sort of restarted this race after having raced 2/3 of the way around the world. An absolute incredible result for the race.
Well, let's see where, as you say, the early king of the race was. Team AkzoNobel safely on the dock in Itajai. The next boat to come in will be Dikafari's Turn the Tide on Plastic. We're expecting them on Saturday. And then about 24 hours behind will be Mafre. For now, at least, until they cross the line and it's all confirmed, Mafre still the overall race leaders. But soon that is going to pass to Dongfeng Race Team. Now, there are 2 other boats at the moment that are not on the water. They're not racing. Vestas 11th Hour Racing is in the Falkland Islands following their dismasting. And then Sunhunkai Scallywag, a little while ago, safely made it to the Chilean coast following the loss of John Fisher during the Southern Ocean portion of the leg. Now, both teams, their intentions, as far as we know at the moment, and certainly Sunhunkai Scallywag put out a statement through their social media channels yesterday, their intention is to rejoin the race in Itajai. They are pushing hard to be there in Brazil, to come back to the race, to come back to the racing, to come back to doing what they love. And it's a big mountain to climb, not only with the logistics, but also emotionally. The loss of John Fisher has affected everybody close to the Volvo Ocean Race, the sailors, the fans, and the wider sailing community. And the team, Sunhunkai Scallywag, has made a rather touching tribute to John Fisher that we'll leave you with now.
I suppose just the experience, sailing in the cold, day after day, the relentlessness of the weather. It's grinding, really grinding, and it makes you think long and hard about some of the things you do in your life and your mental state and everything else. And I think highlight and low light is that, the weather and the conditions. Blasting along at 30 knots is magic,
This week claimed a good man in fish. Get back in there. Is that Hong Kong red? Oh,
He was incredibly happy. He looked incredibly fit, with a big smile on his face. He was just enjoying the experience of a lifetime ambition of sailing around the world in the Volvo Ocean Race. Fish was an amazing guy. He was incredibly patient as a teacher. He was really good with the younger people on board the boat. He would teach them how to do things better, how to do things smarter, how to sort of think ahead of the game. He was also great company.
Happy Valentine's Day, David. With the merengue. Absolutely.
He could talk about sailing, he could talk about anything in the world. And he was also one of the most safety conscious people. He was always thinking about how do we make sure the boat is safer, the crew is safe, the welfare of the people on board. And he was really just the most thorough gentleman I've had the pleasure to sail with.
Hope everything's going well, mate, and hope you have a wonderful time. Happy Valentine's Day to Kirsten, the woman that makes me the man I am, and for supporting me with everything I do. Thank you very much.
I suppose where I grew up and growing up with the love of sailing and watching the Whitbread start, every 4 years out of the Solent, it's one of those things you always dream of doing, and whether you ever get the chance is another thing. If you're lucky enough to get the chance to do a race like this, everyone should grab it. I think it isn't for everyone, but you should always challenge yourself.